Among the hardest concepts for somebody seeking his or her role within Judaism is the idea of Jewish peoplehood, the idea of a Jewish community. Americans in particular have been raised in the 21st century and the end of the 20th century to believe that we are, each of us, individuals. To each one of us there are rights, there are privileges that pertain as individuals, and we do not normally see ourselves as part of a large community of a people. And yet Judaism, from its origination, conceived of itself as a people. We're told that as a people we left Egypt. As a people we crossed the Sea of Reeds. As a people we stood at Sinai, and there we accepted the law. There we accepted the law, which made us a people bound to God. Whether or not one still holds to that notion of deity, the image of Jews throughout history has been one of a people. As a people we were taxed. As a people we lived, often with our own leaders and our own rules. As a people, we were often set back behind ghetto walls, separate and apart from those peoples with whom we lived. It was not until the late 18th century that the French House of Notables was called to say to the Jewish people, to the Jews as a nation, nothing. To the Jews as individuals, everything. And that's when it happened. The Jews of the West, especially, were given this opportunity to know freedoms that had never existed before. Were given an opportunity to be among their neighbors, perhaps not quite as equals, but almost as equals. Were given the opportunity to dwell among all the others, but only if they were willing to give up their notion of nationhood, and with that, the nation of Israel. Our rabbis were now to be our teachers of religion. Our synagogues were to be the places where we as individuals would worship. We were more or less to be Jews in our homes, but not to have a corporate identity outside of those homes. Yet how does Judaism survive when everything, or almost everything, we seem to teach speaks to us of the collective, speaks to us as being part of a collective? What does it mean to be a Jewish individual? Does it mean we have no more responsibilities to the corporate body? Do we owe nothing to the state of Israel? Do we owe nothing to our fellow Jew, even though we are taught, if I am for myself alone, what am I? Or we were taught all Jews are responsible, one for another. Kol Yisrael arevim zeh vazeh. Every Jew is responsible for every other Jew. Our holidays all give evidence of our worship experiences where we pray in the plural. Our prayers talk about we, us, our God. Our holidays are celebrated perhaps in the synagogue or perhaps in the home. But in either case, the major emphasis has been for us on the larger body outside of ourselves, has been to be part of the community, has been to accept the norms of the community. Yet here I stand as a Reform rabbi, firmly committed to the notion of individuality, firmly committed to the idea that each one of us possesses the right as an individual to choose those rules which we shall accept for ourselves. Dr. Byron Sherwin of the Spertus Institute, the sponsor of this project in which I am engaged, carefully pointed out to me that the real issue on this level may be between those who accept the halakha, Jewish law, and those who simply want to accept the mitzvot, the deeds, the implications of the law, without being tied into the body of corporate law. How do you do that? If every Jew, quote, makes Shabbat for herself or himself, where is the community? If every Jew worships differently, how do we go from one house of worship to another and still find ourselves part of a community? If we don't understand the idea of a corporate body, how do we get together to celebrate Passover, the moment of our people's deliverance from Egypt? We came out of Egypt. So this is our challenge. What is it going to mean in the 21st century to be a Jew? Will there be a corporate identity? Will there be some way in the diaspora to relate to the notion of being part of community? Will there be some way for us as individuals to give up some of our individual freedom that we might know the experience of the support of a larger community? So many people today, when observing a ritual or a life cycle moment, no longer even seek the support of the community. Bar mitzvah, bat mitzvah, is often today observed in a community made up only of family and immediate friends, with the congregation not even being present to welcome this new young person into our midst. When we observe a funeral, oftentimes the community no longer even stands to be there for us, no longer comes to the home for Shiva, no longer sits and studies together. How then is Judaism going to survive? I believe it can survive. I believe it shall survive. But I believe that we're going to have to answer some tough questions. Rabbi Yitz Greenberg once said to me, Larry, would you be willing, as a Reform rabbi, to give up X so that we could be bound up as a people who you would in this way accept the halakha, the law, upon yourself? And the first thing he suggested was something that I said, okay, I might be able to do that. But then he came to me one day and he said, would you be able and willing to give up women rabbis? And I knew doggone well that one wasn't going to fly for me. And I looked at him and I said, Yitz, would you be willing to give up kashrut? And he knew that one wasn't going to fly for him. So the question really becomes for us, how shall we build community? Can we build community? Will we build community? Or will our need to be individuals ultimately overwhelm our commitment to our history and to our people?